Well, let me ask you this question. So you meet and eventually marry your wife, my mother, and then she gets pregnant, and you're still flying combat missions in Vietnam. Matter of fact, I think you were you were overseas when your first son, i.e., me, was born. So what was that like?
Well, I went back over there after we got engaged, and we had been married, I don't know, for a couple, 3 months. This is November 71. And I went back over there again, and I went with a guy named Knox Bishop. I'd just gone to squadron officer school in Alabama, and took your mother with me, and we stayed there 3 months. We came back, got married, and I went back overseas, and I went with a guy named Knox Bishop. It was a great crew, great crew, and the whole wing had gone over there. The pilot was a Texas graduate, could have been an insurance salesman, wasn't real wild, a good stick, great guy. Co-pilot was a big, tough, beer drinking Irishman that the only thing bigger than him was his heart. Okay, John Blewett. And navigator left something to be desired. But I was a bombardier at this time. We had an electronic warfare officer that was a major, and then we had a gunner, a black guy named Willie Tolbert. And Willie had like 500 missions overseas because he never stayed at home. He kept volunteering. But he just wanted to be left alone.
Yeah.
Anyway, we went over there, and we came back, and I came back in November of 72, 1st of November 72. I'm going to spend 30 days at home, then I'm going to go back, okay? And a lot of this stuff starts kind of fading away because I was over there so many times, but anyway, get back, and she is absolutely, she wasn't pregnant. She was pregnant, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, she was so pregnant that she could sit down on the couch in this giant ledge, about a 12-inch ledge. I mean, it's a perfect ledge. I mean, it was
stick your bear on the belly.
Yeah, I was really impressed with that. But anyway, you were supposed to be born about the middle of November, about half the time that it was going to be great. I was going to get there if you came a little early. I was going to get to see if you came a little late. But anyway, about the end of November, no baby. And she said, "You're going to stay home, aren't you? The baby's born." I said, "No." I said, "Nobody's flying my combat missions."
Yeah.
I said, "You're healthy. You got plenty of support. If there's a problem, I can be back in 24 hours. So anyway, just to add to that story a little bit, when I got back and she was that pregnant, I did what any man would do. I counted the days back from your conception to make sure that I was home during that period. Okay.
You know what I was doing when you were talking about this timeline? I was doing a little mental math on when you got married compared to when I was born.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to make sure that the timeline worked out. Okay, I was home during that period, and it didn't happen after we got married, which is all good. Those are good life. But she was so pregnant. I said, the kid needs some exercise. She said, "Well, how are you going to exercise him?" I said, "Well, sit down on the couch and pull your shirt up." So she did, and I would put this cold beer can on her right side, and you would move over to her left side. And then I would switch it. You would move back over.
Nice.
It was real convenient. It really was. But
nice.
Anyway, I went back overseas and flew a bunch of missions, but the big one was the 11-day war in the Christmas Day War of 1972. That's when we started getting shot down.
Yeah.
And you were born on the 30th of November, 72. I had never seen you, okay, because I was overseas.
Yeah.
But I can remember I got a phone call. We were all stuck in this real two-room BOQ. It's midnight or very late. The phone rings. And I know what it is. I know it's the doctor calling me to say, "Hey, your son's arrived." But I was so tired, I really didn't want to get up and answer the phone. So the co-pilot answered the phone.
Take a message.
John Blewett. And I got up, I talked to the doctor, and I'd known him before. I said, is my wife okay? And he said, yes. And I said, is the baby okay? He said, yes. Uh, you were 11 pounds, 14 and a half ounces, which is really big, and you were a boy, okay?
Yeah.
This was like winning the lottery. I mean, there's no boys.
Yeah.
So of course I wasn't arrogant about it at all. I mean, I never rubbed it into any of my relatives. Anyway, but we during that period of time, I got some pictures of you 5 days later.
Yeah, so you get some pictures in the mail, and of course you're like, man, that is the most beautiful, attractive newborn baby I've ever seen in my life, right? I mean, you were just like, wow, what a beautiful baby.
Yeah, well, I got these in the mail. Of course, they couldn't send them by text or anything else then, but I get these. They saw the envelope, and all the crew said, "Boy, Ed, I think you got some pictures of your son, but let's take a look at it." I said, "Well, let me go downstairs. I want to kind of look at them in private." Okay, so I went down there, and these 5 pictures. You look like a punch-drunk fighter. I'm not kidding with you, because your mother was in labor for 30 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, and everything wasn't quite shaped up like it should have been. So anyway, I'm thinking, my reputation is at stake here. Okay. So I get back up to the room, and the guys want to see the picture. I said, I lost them. But very soon after that, Nixon was reelected. We wanted to get out of Vietnam, and he was looking for a way to do it.
Yeah.
So this is a B-52's claim to fame. It's called Bullet Shot or Linebacker 2. Most of the missions we flew were down south. It was never a problem. 36,000 feet, 3 airplanes together, space 500 feet, 2 miles behind each other. Anyway, so on the 11th of, or on the 18th of December, we launched a ton of B-52s out of Guam and Thailand into North Vietnam, Hanoi and Haiphong.
How long are these missions, by the way?
Out of Guam, they're like 12, 13 hours. Out of Thailand, they're like 3 or 4.
Okay.
Anyway, all of a sudden, the guys get back that flew those missions. We're all hanging out to win and stuff, and 3 of them got shot down.
Wow.
First it's ever happened by SAMs.
Yeah.
Surface air missiles. Those babies that go 60,000 feet. Well, when we realized that, all of a sudden, we got serious. Anyway, we flew three more days, and we used the same tactics, which were totally stupid. One airplane to follow another one. So the North Vietnamese, who had a super air defense system anyway, it's like shooting ducks in a shooting gallery.
Yeah.
I mean, all they do is salve all these things. So anyway, but they changed the tactics, and we were coming in from different approaches. We didn't take 6 hours to do all the bombing. We came in 15 minutes. We had 120 B-52s across Hanoi and Haiphong.
Wow.
And that worked out really well. We took Christmas Day off, and on, I guess it was the 26th, we flew 120 B-52s out of Guam and Thailand, and we hit the targets in North Vietnam, all of them within a 15-minute period.
Wow.
And that is the biggest show of firepower in the history of warfare. And the D models carried 108 500-pound bombs. The G's that I was in at the time, we carried 27 internally. But that was a scheduling nightmare. So those missions were about 18 hours back to Guam, because we had to go back over the Philippines, refuel. I mean, it was tough.
Yeah.
And the POWs, after we got back, after they got home, they told us that is the thing. They'd have their guards at the Hanoi Hilton come in and say, "Hey, they're trying to kill you," because these bombs are going around, going off all around them.
Yeah.
And the POWs said, "No, they're not trying to kill us. They're trying to kill you."
Yeah.
So anyway, we after a couple more days of this, the North Vietnamese all of a sudden decided they wanted to negotiate again. because we had basically wiped them out. No more SAMs. AAA wasn't effective. We had bombed all the railroads from China and Russia that would bring all this stuff in. They had no supplies.
Yeah.
And I gotta give a lot of credit. We had a lot of support from fighter guys. We had a lot of support from electronic warfare airplanes. We had a lot of support during all this. Okay, and I got to give those guys so much credit. But even though we were in harm's way, I never figured that I never felt like we did anything other than our job. The real heroes were the people on the ground, okay? They were in foxholes, eating grub worms daily, just trying to get out of this mess in some way. Seeing their buddy, you never know when someone's going to get shot in the jungle. I mean, it was so we did our job. We did it well. And I think that you can probably ask any historian that the B-52 bombings, the 11 days of Linebacker 2 in December of 72 is what basically ended the war, okay? All of a sudden, everybody wants to negotiate.
Yeah.
A lot of the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese would tell everybody later that the two things that they were most scared of were snakes and B-52s. And so, but anyway, we weren't the fighter guys, but I think we did a great job. And they went back and they negotiated. And very soon after that, we stopped bombing them. The war was over with. I stayed over there for a little longer, but the POWs were released about a month later, which was very nice. But right after that, your mother flies over to spend some time with me, okay?
Yep.
She brings you.
Yep.
You're 2 months old. And I meet her at the commercial airplane, and isn't he cute and stuff like. You'd straighten out just a little bit by then. Anyway, so we go to the Navy commissary, and she has to go get some food for a month. I had a little place that we were staying. So she gave you to me, and I went over. I said, well, I'll go to the snack bar and wait on you. Well, things worked out pretty good for about 15 minutes. And then you started screaming your head off. Okay? and I'm thinking, what have I got myself into? Okay. and so I held the screaming baby for 2 hours, maybe the longest 2 hours of my life. But anyway, she got back and she was breastfeeding you. So she took care of you, but it was really, but I have to tell you this, Brian, in all seriousness, it's okay if I call you Brian, okay? I mean, on the podcast.
I suppose so. I suppose.
I know you guys have a certain protocol you like to follow. Anyway, I have to tell you this. When I looked at you, I could see future podcaster written all over your head.
Was that obvious?
Oh, yes, obvious. So nearly 48 years later, guess what? You're
exactly. Here we are. Well. So how many total combat missions did you fly over Vietnam?
I had exactly 200, and I guess one of my claims to fame was I never missed a mission, never missed a target, and I flew the very last B-52 mission out of Guam. Okay.
Yeah.
And have the thousands of airplanes that were flown out of their B-52s. That was kind of neat. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was, that's, I've got 1,300 hours of combat time, but a lot of that's boring holes in the sky.
Yeah.
It's just going in and out
yeah.
of the target area. But I never felt like I was doing anything other than what I was supposed to do. I was doing my job. And I was very lucky to be at 36,000 feet rather than down on the ground. And I think most of the B-52 guys will tell you the same thing.
Yeah,
they
were
very, very proud of what they did. I'm not trying to take anything away from that, but I'm also trying to say that we realize that even though I really think ended the war or started the negotiations again, we did okay. but we recognized that we were hero-wise, we were a little bit down on the totem pole.
Yeah.
And I sincerely mean that. But we had a lot of fun. We had a pet python. It stayed at Gilligan's Island. Pete, the Gilligan's Island was where we'd go on Guam after a mission, get some beer, hot dog or something. But about every 2 weeks, they'd put a chicken in with Pete.
Uh-oh.
And this chicken would get on top of Pete, and Pete would sit and, come back a couple of days later and the chicken's still there. Well, then the next day, all of a sudden, Pete had a giant lump in his body. And
bye chicken.
the chicken was, but another interesting little sidelight is we had an EW that was a major. Well, EWs get a bad rap as being kind of weird.
Yeah.
And if you had to listen to electronic signals all day, you'd be weird too. Okay, is all I can tell you.
Yeah.
But he would go to the officers club at Anderson, and there were some permanent party people there. But he had a pet gecko. And he took a string and he made a leash out of it and a little collar for the gecko.
Yeah.
And he put one end of the string in a little loop on it. And this gecko he would sit there eating dinner with this gecko on top of his head, and the gecko would move over. And you know what?
What's that?
Nobody thought anything of it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been over there for so long, everybody was going crazy.
For sure.
He was trying to get sent home, and it didn't work. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought that was pretty good. And one other little thing, when it was a night flight, we would go out, and either the co-pilot or I would in chalk write all the crew positions on the tires. We'd put P, CP, RN, NAV, EW, and gunner, and kind of space them out equally, so that after we landed, after the flight, we'd take a flashlight and shine it on top of the tire. And whoever was up there had to buy the beer.
Nice. I like that.
Well, the co-pilot and I said, this is not working.
Yeah.
So either he would do it or I would do it. And we would just like pilot all the way around, put all people all the way around. And it was dark. No one could tell the difference. So we'd go out there.
Game. Yeah. Rig the game.
Yeah. We'd go out there with flash the flashlight. Oh, it's a Knox. This is the 5th straight time you've had to buy the beer. You need a break.
Yeah.
I missed a lot of sports. I missed a lot of football because we got everything a week late. But it turned out pretty good because I kept betting guys on games I already knew what the score was, okay? And we'd watch them on TV. And, I won, I don't know, maybe $50, $60 off. I'd say, oh, I don't want to bet anymore. Oh, we want to bet. We're going to get our money back.
Yeah.
So and anyway, after a couple of months, I said, enough of this. So I gave all of them their money back. I said, I feel guilty about taking advantage of you. But there was a lot of there was a lot of good times like that, and there was a lot of times with a lot of stress as a radar navigator, bombardier going into North Vietnam and trying to find the target, and with the possibility of dumping the bombs on Hanoi Hilton where all our prisoners were. Man, you can't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah. But we had a lot of fun, and it was a great experience, and absolutely no regrets whatsoever. Anyway, like I say, your mother goes back to the States, and I end up back there pretty quick after that. We get an assignment up to New York, and up to FB-111s. Thoroughly enjoyed the assignment, stayed there 5 years, and went to the University of Kansas, and as an ROTC instructor, had a great time at KU, and then ended up at Carswell for my last 3 years, where I basically taught the B-52 crews what they needed to do in case they had to go to war.
Yeah.
I knew all the targets. I knew all the tactics, procedures, and that's something I've never talked to anybody about, nor will I ever talk to them about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Highly classified stuff.